You, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, do solemnly swear
I, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, do solemnly swear
that you will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States
that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States
and will, to the best of your ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
So help you God.
So help me God.
I think it was disgraceful that the intelligence agencies allowed any information that turned out to be so false and fake out. I think it's a disgrace. And I say that, and that's something that Nazi Germany would have done and did do. I think it's a disgrace.
This is the 5th in my 14-part video series that details the key megatrend geopolitical consequences of the Trump reset, of why the United States under the Trump presidency is trending towards an inevitable war with China, economic, cyber, and even outright military conflict, something that is deemed to be impossible by most today. This series is based on my 3 key pieces of in-depth analysis published at the Market Oracle site that should be referred to for links to videos and source articles. Trump's US election win amounts to a pressing of the reset button on that which has passed for at least the past 40 years, which demands a reappraisal of virtually everything to ascertain not just the impact of Trump, but the trend reversal / rebellion underway amongst Western populations against the ruling elites that will impact on megatrend drivers of financial market trends for many years, if not decades to come. The establishment elite is still reeling from the failure of any of their bought and paid for candidates that populate both the Democratic and Republican parties to make it into the White House for the first time since perhaps JFK, are increasingly looking to the likes of the CIA to begin implementing the elite's Plan B as President-elect Donald Trump takes office and starts to diverge from the elite's interests. For instance, it is not in the elite military, industrial, intelligence and corporate complexes' interest for the US to be friendly towards Russia, despite the fact that Russia literally poses a near zero economic or military threat to US global power. However, the operating system of the US military and economic global power is such that it does not matter if a nation is a friend or foe, all are fair game. Where the king of cyber warfare, the United States, can literally shut any nation down within hours, given the so-called free internet is a US military delivery system for malware infection for total access and control. So to imagine the US full-spectrum global empire assembled over the past 115 years will allow a rogue president to disrupt its activities is delusional. The CIA lies near the top of the ruling elite pyramid, where even its former directors have gone on to become presidents of the United States, so as to ensure nothing really ever changes as the ruling elite keep ruling in perpetuity as they continue to concentrate wealth and power into their own hands, whilst leaving the brainwashed masses to wave patriotic flags and go through the motions of voting in an illusion of democracy and freedom, all guided by the mainstream establishment media, the fake news empire. However, for this US election, the time-tested system of total control failed, and the reason it failed was because of Britain's Brexit vote, as explained in my video analysis and forecast conclusion of September 2016, of why Britain's Brexit vote meant that Trump would win. The alt-reality TV star, who literally portrayed himself as an anti-establishment Mr. Brexit, would go on to become the next US president and thus shatter the agenda of the establishment elite who had been guiding Hillary Clinton under the cover of being America's first female president for over a decade, to follow on from America's bought and paid for first black president, who, when one looks at his actions, or rather inactions, whilst in office, may as well have been white. Trump's secret weapon used to great effect is delirium, which I explained in my post-US election deconstruction video of why, after over 40 years of lies being piled on top of lies being piled on top of even more lies, had primed the American electorate to no longer care, to try to even determine the difference between which is fact and which is fiction, and thus embraced delirium, which is what Donald Trump induced throughout his campaign. So here we stand today with President Donald Trump about to take office at 12 noon, Friday the 20th of January. He has already heavily criticized the CIA for its propaganda in justifying acts of terror and regime change across the world.
Disgraceful that the intelligence agencies allowed any information that turned out to be so false and fake out. I think it's a disgrace. And I say that, and that's something that Nazi Germany would have done and did do. I think it's a disgrace.
For instance, the whole Iraq war was built on the basis of CIA lies and propaganda by utilizing the September 11th terror attacks that many internet conspiracy theorists conclude was also a CIA inside job, a false flag event. Nevertheless, the facts, as best we can determine the facts in our propaganda-infested world, is that Saudi terrorists based in Afghanistan hijacked 4 planes and attacked the United States on the 11th of September 2001. And therefore the root of the crisis in the Islamic world has its roots in Saudi Arabia and its Wahhabi puritanical ideology that has been busy exporting since the 1970s throughout the Islamic world, paid for with petrodollars. This is what weak regimes do. They use secret police to scare the population, and in Saudi Arabia that apparatus of fear is built around Wahhabism. But I'll stop there, for this is for a separate video. Now, how does that convert into a war on Iraq? The answer is that a war on Iraq served the interests of the establishment elite, the military-industrial intelligence corporate complex, and of course for the 140 billion barrels of crude oil parked on the Iraqi desert, at that time worth $14 trillion, awaiting US oil companies to profit from. Thus, 20 years on from the collapse of the Soviet Union, at the end of a highly profitable Cold War, it was time for another big war. Iraq was the perfect enemy, rich in oil and poor in military, so should be a pushover for the world's only remaining superpower, as over $1 trillion was spent on arms bought from America's industrial military complex. So, America's $1 trillion Iraq war was for the purpose of enriching the establishment elite, who directly profited from what was clearly an illegal war that will go on to sow the seeds of what we are witnessing today in the likes of Libya and Syria, nations destroyed with over 1 million killed. The CIA has already effectively warned that Donald Trump is Putin's Manchurian candidate, as I've covered earlier in this video series. So given the way things stand today, to imagine that one of the CIA's many death squads is not game playing the assassination of President Trump flies in the face of the past 60 years of CIA history of worldwide and domestic murder, where any perceived threat against the US establishment prompts extreme measures, even if that threat is deemed to be from the office of the President of the United States. So how could the CIA's Plan B go down? Well, the CIA in 1963 were mere juveniles with lots of crude tools at their disposal, such as sniper rifles, till even at that time it was creative enough to formulate a plan for which it has remained able to maintain a cover-up that persists to this very day, despite much speculation and fragments of leaked evidence that suggests the CIA engaged the mafia to assassinate John F. Kennedy for both his highly critical speeches and warnings of the secret society, the military, industrial and intelligence complex, and his resistance towards pushing the United States into war with Vietnam that would turn out to be a hugely costly and bloody and highly enriching war for the establishment elite.
Ladies and gentlemen, the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society.
And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger. Announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. No president should fear public scrutiny of his program, for from that scrutiny comes understanding, and from that understanding comes support or opposition, and both are necessary. I am not asking your newspapers to support an administration, but I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people. For I have complete confidence in the response and dedication of our citizens whenever they are fully informed. I not only could not stifle controversy among your readers, I welcome it. This administration intends to be candid about its errors. For as a wise man once said, an error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. We intend to accept full responsibility for our errors, and we expect you to point them out when we miss them. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive. That is why the Athenian lawmaker Solon decreed it a crime for any citizen to shrink from controversy. And that is why our press was protected by the First Amendment, the only business in America specifically protected by the Constitution, not primarily to amuse and entertain, not to emphasize the trivial and the sentimental, not to simply give the public what it wants, but to inform, to arouse, to reflect, to state our dangers and our opportunities, to indicate our crises and our choices, to lead, mold, educate, and sometimes even anger public opinion. This means greater coverage and analysis of international news, for it is no longer far away and foreign, but close at hand and local. It means greater attention to improved understanding of the news, as well as improved transmission. And it means, finally, that government at all levels must meet its obligation to provide you with the fullest possible information outside the narrowest limits of national security. And so it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
Today's CIA is far more technologically and pharmacologically advanced than it was in 1963, so expect the covert agency to be planning a covert assassination of Donald Trump by pharmacological means, i.e. slipping something untraceable into his food that would bring Mr. Brexit's presidency to an abrupt, natural end. Clearly, Donald Trump is fully aware of the CIA being professional liars and does not want to be subject to their propaganda. Not the CIA nor the rest of the US intelligence apparatus comprising more than 50 secret police vested interest agencies, spying on every aspect of the lives of ordinary Americans. Therefore, I don't see how the CIA, given the tools at its disposal, will not implement Plan B of sorts given their loss of power, which is what the likes of the CIA fear the most, losing power. So, the CIA of the next few years could easily put together a plan to utilize angry Mexican drug cartel members to undertake the dirty work of assassination whilst using a local patsy, a Mexican or Muslim angry at Trump's policy towards them personally or their family, perhaps for being on the receiving end of Trump's new anti-migration regime, and thus be flagged on the CIA's PRISM radar as potential patsies. And then there is a threat from within, Trump's own supporters, for if Trump in their view betrays them by backtracking on the many outlandish promises that Trump has made to America's right wing during the election campaign, then he might find himself on the receiving end of their wrath. However, in my opinion, it is more probable that a CIA assassination plot would manifest itself in one of natural causes that would give Trump the big TV ratings funeral he has always hoped for, to be followed by a more docile vice president taking over. Though it would not be necessary for the CIA to engage in an assassination plot to remove Trump from office, for the CIA has been busy exaggerating Donald Trump's ties to Tsar Putin's regime and thus creating propaganda that suggests Donald Trump really is a Manchurian candidate, i.e. working for the Russians, which will be enough to set in motion a sequence of events for Congress to remove Trump from office, especially given the huge number of skeletons in Trump's closet. Either way, it does not look likely Trump will make it to the end of his presidency, which will probably be terminated before the end of his third year in office. Maybe Donald Trump will surprise all by buckling under and following the one-party line just as Obama and every president before him has, forgetting everything he's promised, and I can already imagine how this could play out a few years from now.
Cowardice. Are you serious? Apologies for freedom. I can't handle this. When freedom brings, answer the call. On your feet, stand up tall. Freedom's on our shoulders. USA! Enemies of freedom. Face the music. Come on, boys, take them down. President Donald Trump knows how to make America great. Deal from strength or get crushed every time.
I don't know what I said. I don't remember. He's going like, I don't remember. Oh, maybe that's what I said.
Over here, USA. Over there, USA. Freedom and liberty everywhere. Oh, say can you see it's not so easy, but we have to stand up tall and answer freedom's call.
I don't know what I said. I don't remember.
USA, 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 USA. We're the land of the free and the home of the brave. USA, USA. The stars and stripes are flying. Let's celebrate our freedom. Inspire proudly freedom to the world. Ameritude, USA. American pride, USA. It's attitude, it's who we are. Stand up tall. We're the red, white, and blue. Fiercely free, that's who. Our colors don't run, no siree.
I don't know what I said. I don't remember. remember. Oh, maybe that's what I said.
Over here, over there, freedom and liberty everywhere. Oh, say can you see it's not so easy, but we have to stand up tall and answer freedom's call.
I don't know what I said. I don't remember. He's going like, I don't remember. Oh, maybe that's what I said. This is 14 years ago. They didn't do a retraction.